You are now listening to the Fighting Back Podcast, and here's your host, Jessica Travis. Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Fighting Back Podcast. This is a Sidebar episode, and I am seated here with Jessica Travis. How you doing, Jessica?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. What are we talking about today, Jessica?
The sandwich generation. It's a new term I just heard of. Do you know what it is?
Hopefully it's a bologna sandwich or a ham sandwich, but I'm down. Let's talk about it.
Kind of, but no. It is the middle generation. It's individuals who have usually a family, are managing a career, and have aging parents that need help with medical bills, long-term care, and legal paperwork. So it's those people, in their 30s, 40s, 50s who are caregivers to both sides.
So I'm a sandwich.
You're a sandwich.
I'm a sandwich. All right. Let's get into it. So we are in the middle. We do take care of a lot of people, both you and I. We do have careers. We're working. So yeah, let's dive in a little more. Tell me more.
Yeah, and I think so. We are not uncommon. So according to Pew Research, 1 in 7 adults fall into the category.
Okay.
It is a rising number, but as people get older and live longer, and there's more people kind of in our sandwich generation who are taking care of families or having a career and also have those aging parents that they need to take care of.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of balancing in our lives in this day. I would say in mine, I have to do balance a lot with work, with taking care of the family, with taking care of my mother as well. There's a lot that I have to balance out.
There is, and that's why I think planning ahead is really important.
Mm-hmm. Why? Why is it so important?
Well, I think estate planning in particular is so important because it's not just about what happens when you die, right? And I know it's a topic nobody really wants to talk about. But it's also about protecting people who depend on you, both your family and your children and the people who are on this side. And it's also protecting and establishing a plan for your parents and those individuals who you're caring for.
All right. So what's one of the first steps people can take when planning estate planning?
So I would, excuse me, I would really start with, protecting your children first of all, because I think that's really important.
It's very important.
And so it's really important to devise a strategy, a will, guardianship designations for if something happens to you, you know who's going to take care of your children, trusts that are set up to protect your minor children so there's not huge tax consequences with your child inheriting everything when they turn 18, things like that.
I'm going to ask you some. Is there an age limit that you have to establish a will?
Absolutely not.
Okay. I
think everybody should establish a will at any point. And, there's not really an asset requirement either to establish a will.
Okay. Oh, so I don't have to have hundreds and thousands of dollars or millions of dollars in the bank, right?
Yeah. Lots of people think that they don't need estate planning. They don't need wills or trusts or anything like that because they don't really have a lot of things. They might have a house and a car and a 401k, and that's about it. Mm-hmm. But frankly, establishing a will and a trust is not just for those ultra-rich people. It's to say, okay, if something happens to me, who's going to take care of my children? Or updating the beneficiaries to make sure if something happens to me, where is my house going to go? And where is the money that I've been saving in the 401k going to go?
So if someone doesn't have a will or trust established, what happens when that individual dies?
So it goes to what we call intestate. So anybody who passes who doesn't have a will goes through the intestate process. And what that basically means is the government gets to decide what happens to your children and what happens to your stuff. Sometimes it's the way you want it to go, but a lot of times it's not. I'll give you a specific example. We had a client who her daughter and her granddaughter lived with her.
Okay.
And this tri-family, of daughter, mom, and grandmom all lived together. The child's dad was kind of out of the picture, had never been involved in the child's life, the biological father.
Okay.
Never been involved. And so, unfortunately, mom, so the middle generation, she passed unexpectedly. And the question then was, what happened to the daughter?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you'd think, okay, daughter stays with grandmother because daughter's lived with grandmother her whole life.
Yeah, that sounds the most reasonable thing to do.
That's where she should go. But that's not the case.
Ooh.
Because mom didn't have a will, daughter then, her guardian is her biological father. She's never met, that she doesn't have a relationship with. And things like that, having those situations in place and having that documentation in place as to who you're designating as your guardian and who you're designating what's going to happen to you and your assets and your children when you pass, that's important.
So let me ask you this, kind of like a hypothetical. Let's say something happens to me. I'm set to be married, kid, and all that, but I also take care of my mom. If I'm out of the picture, what happens now with my mom?
Exactly. And the answer really is it depends on what protection you have in place for her. Does she have a durable power of attorney, a designation of a healthcare surrogate? What documents are set up for your mom in order to make sure she's taken care of as she's getting older, right? Okay. So it's not just when you're thinking about estate planning, us in the sandwich generation, we're not just thinking about us and what documents we need. Well, we also need to be thinking about, okay, what documents do we need for mom to make sure that if something happens, if she becomes incapacitated, if something happens to her, like who does she want there to take care of her? Who does she want to designate her healthcare needs and her healthcare decisions? Who does she want to designate as a power of attorney to make financial and medical decisions for her when she no longer can? Those are all documents and everything that needs to be in place now before incapacities happen and before you need it, really.
Yeah, this is kind of scary on my end because I do have an estate package set up, but not in that manner. Like in case something happens to me, who's going to, pay things for my mom, take care of my mom, look in on her. So, wow, I have to have a consultation with you now.
And so that's part of the whole estate planning, right? A lot of times people will come to me and they will ask and they'll say, okay, I think I need a will, or I think I'll need this one thing. But what we do in a consultation is really talk about, okay, what's your family strategy? Like, what do you want to accomplish and what do you want to have happen, not just to protect your children? What do you need for your parents? What do you need for your spouse if you have them? So what we do in our consultations is we really have that comprehensive discussion of like what's going on in your life with your mom, with your soon-to-be stepdaughter and your fiance, and what do you want to achieve and goals do you want? And then we plan an estate plan around that.
Okay, so basically doing all this, you're kind of protecting yourself.
Yeah, you're protecting yourself, your children, your parents, everything. I mean, if anything happens to you, if you are incapacitated, having this plan in place affects everybody who you care for. As the caregiver, I think we have to protect ourselves. It's that whole thing with the airplane, right? Put your mask on before you put anybody else's mask on.
Yeah.
As the caregiver, especially in a situation where you're a caregiver for both children and older adults, you've got to make sure your plans are in place before you can take care of everybody else.
Wow. Thank you for clarifying that one up for me. And I would basically ask you, like, when's the right time to start planning and estate planning?
And I would say now, today, don't procrastinate. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes or misconceptions that people have is they're like, it can wait. Like, I'm fine. Everything's okay. It can wait. I'm going to put it off just a little bit. I don't want to have to think about death. I don't want to have to think about what's going on, so I'm going to wait.
Yeah.
We never know when something's going to happen.
You're absolutely right. I kind of going back to when I met with you guys for the very first time. It was a great interaction. I left here happy, and then boom, someone T-boned me. Literally, I could see from where the accident happened from where I'm sitting right now.
Yep.
I wasn't prepared for that, and it took. It was a big inconvenience on my life. Luckily, there were certain things in place that did help me out, but I wasn't prepared for something like that. And, you're absolutely right. You cannot wait till it's too late.
It's huge. It really is.
Mm-hmm. So what's one final tidbit you'd want to give to the listener right now in regards to estate planning?
So I think there's a few things. First, in looking at your entire plan and your entire strategy, it should be a strategy that you talk about with your family, with your children if they're old enough to understand, your spouse if you have one, your elderly parents if they have the capacity. It's a plan that really should be discussed with everybody and agreed on by everybody. And then the second thing is when you have that consultation, discuss everything, right? Talk about your beneficiaries and needing to update your beneficiaries on your different retirement accounts or life insurance or trust. Think about long-term care and planning for long-term care. So if your parents need to go into some type of nursing home facility, or if you're going to need to do that, think about that type of long-term consequences. I would recommend, don't look at it like, okay, I need a will because I want to make sure that my car goes to my child. You want to look at it of like, here's everything that's going on in my life, and let's find a plan that makes everything fit together.
All right. 407-344-4837, fighterlaw.com. Jessica, thank you so much for your time and your knowledge, and we will see you guys later.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for listening. If you found this episode helpful or informative, don't forget to follow us on social media and share this podcast with your friends. Like, follow, subscribe so you never miss a show, and help others know their rights by spreading the word. Your support helps us keep fighting back. The information provided in the Fighting Back podcast is for general informational purposes only and is not intended as legal advice. Every case is unique and should be reviewed by a qualified attorney who can provide guidance based on the specific facts and circumstances of your case. Listening to this podcast does not create an attorney-client relationship with Fighter Law or any of its attorneys. If you are facing any legal issue, we strongly encourage you to consult with a licensed attorney directly.